this phase, this we call it as absolute refractory period. So during this phase, whatever the stimulus you give to the nerve fiber, we won't get any kind of response. Whatever the greatest stimulus you give, we won't get any kind of stimulus. That is why we call it as absolute refractory period. This is absolute, whatever the greatest stimulus you give, right? This is absolute refractory period. Next phase is relative refractory period. In relative refractory period, so here again what happens? The sodium gates remains closed during this phase. The sodium inactive gates remain closed, and see here, the sodium inactive gates remain closed, whereas there is continuous opening of leaky channels of potassium. So there is continuous leakage of potassium channels even after it reaches more than the resting membrane potential. That is, the cell is undergoing more negativity because of this continuous leakage of positive ions. So during this phase, if you give any kind of stimulus, that means at threshold level stimulus if you give, this can lead to initiate another action potential here. So this we call it as relative refractory period. So initially we have seen the absolute refractory period. No matter what stimulus you give, you won't get any kind of stimulus, and here during this continuous leakage of potassium ions, and this phase we call it as after depolarization. During this after depolarization phase, if you give maximum stimulus, then we can initiate another action potential. So here we can get another type of action potential. So this we call it as relative refractory period. These are the main difference between absolute refractory period and relative refractory period. The main mechanism involved is here the membrane is continuously losing the negativity, and here it is about to reach the resting membrane potential. So whatever the stimulus you give, you won't get any kind of stimulus because the inactive gates were closed. But here, if you see in relative refractory period, there is a chance of, when it reaches to the resting membrane potential, the inactive gates will be opened, and there is a chance of influx of sodium ions. There is a chance of influx of sodium ions. So here in this phase, we can initiate another action potential. So the reasons behind these two, absolute refractory period and relative refractory period, is mainly depending upon the activities of their channels, inactive and active gates of the channels. If you understand this part, this will be very clear